Hello and welcome to another Client Insights and Experience Share. I'm Zamir Javer, Jumpfactor CEO, and we have a special guest today here, Jonathan Sandmel from SteadyNetworks. SteadyNetworks is an MSP based out of New Mexico, and Jonathan is here to share some of his experience in a leadership capacity at a growing MSP, as well as some of his experience in working with a lead generation partner, in this case, Jumpfactor here, and how that's worked and helped to drive increased revenue. So a little bit of just a quick background about the firm and Jonathan, and then would hand it over, Jonathan, to you. Welcome, first of all. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So SteadyNetworks has been around for about 11 years. They have grown to about 22 people. It is a managed IT services firm focused on SMBs, and they have a specialization in leveraging automation and cybersecurity as part of their managed services offering. The firm has won many iterations of the best places to work in Albuquerque, and so that's definitely something we like to see. And Jonathan has been there. He's one of the founders of the firm. He's been there since the inception 11 years ago and is based out of Santa Fe. So thanks again, Jonathan, for being here. Perhaps you can share a little bit just on the focus of SteadyNetworks in terms of the type of businesses you go after, and what is your primary, responsibility there that you kind of oversee.
Well, yeah, as a CEO, I wear a lot of hats, but business development is a big focus of what I try to bring to the company, and we focus on New Mexico is a unique landscape. It's very beautiful, very wild, and so the businesses here tend to be, they're you don't get as many Fortune 500 or super large companies, but they all need the same kind of world class IT services that any other business would need in a major metropolitan area. So we're really trying to bring that kind of world class IT solution to businesses, typically 15 to 150 employees.
Wonderful, yeah, and I can. That's an interesting tidbit you shared. Uh, Managed services are required by businesses of all shapes and sizes, and you happen to be in not maybe not like a very large metro city, but there's still demand coming into Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and some of the smaller surrounding townships. And so this kind of program, obviously, as we'll share and hear from you, has been driving a certain level of consistent results. And just as some context there, so I have a note that you started the partnership with Jumpfactor back in February 2022, so it's been just over a year, and the program has grown a little bit in scope to include a complete website overhaul as well down the road, which helped to increase the visibility and boost conversion. And but what would be helpful is maybe you can share a little bit of context of what was the process. How did you drive new business prior to Jumpfactor? And then what led to you connecting with and engaging with Jumpfactor and selecting us as your partner?
Well, we've always, for years anyway, had an inside sales uh, uh, resource making dials, sometimes 50 to 60, 70 dials a day through a database and a CRM. So that's one lead generation, and that's that's really the hard work that any sales team typically has to do. And what you hope for is those those freebies coming in from the web, where you've got an active buyer who's engaged, looking for IT, so you don't have to hunt and work so hard to find them. And we've always had a website, obviously, and some level of search engine optimization. At least we thought we did. We've
Right.
always tried to have it, and we paid consultants, we paid firms. I think maybe Jump Factors are fourth or fifth try at it. Um, but inevitably, I even had great relationships with a couple of them, and it was this very painful breakup where I had to say to them, "Look, we just have to move on because we haven't gotten a single lead from our website in a year," and so that didn't feel like success to us, and so that's really, we always have been. Always been a part of our sales process to have and rely on some amount of web lead generation, whether it came in or not, we've always been trying to make that part of our mix, our marketing mix.
Yeah, wonderful. And I'm sure it's a similar painful experience a lot of people can relate to. We hear the story all the time with a lot of MSPs that have just tried so many things, unfortunately, and lost not beyond just the resource cost, the lost opportunity cost, the time
Mhm.
and revenue that could have been had if it was done right. And so, obviously, you worked selected Jumpfactor. And what helped in sort of that selection process? Why did you decide to kind of move forward with us?
Well, we got referred in because we had talked to our peer group. I mean, every time we made a selection, we really obviously went in with optimism and hope in our hearts that
Yeah.
that they could deliver. And then we got referred in, and maybe kind of had the same hope, but talking to some referrals, it just, to be honest, it just seemed as good an option as any of the ones we had tried in the past, and it was just time, and it was a good sales experience, and everything looked good. But I've been down that road before, and I said, yeah, let's give it a shot, and I've been really happy with the results.
Great. Yeah. So I can understand that, being jaded from past negative experience is definitely common and understandable. And so, kind of fast forward to today, we sort of look at some of the KPIs, and I'll share here a little bit just for the viewers to understand. So your site was ranking for about 200 keywords initially. That's ramped up to over 720 within, just over a year. So very short time frame within a very um, not the necessarily largest target market in terms of cities. So again, it's an example where we are able to see that this type of demand is there even at the smallest city levels. And so that was the outcome in terms of keywords. The traffic has tripled to date, and it's continuing to grow and accelerate over time. And I can see just from our notes here that there was very little, as you alluded to earlier, lead flow from the website. In some cases, none for months. And then that kind of increased to the height right now at 12 plus SQLs, qualified sort of leads that are coming in. And then, of course, some percentage of those turn into opportunities. And it sounds like you guys have a great sales process to follow up, because based on what you share, you've already closed 8 deals that have led to 1.265 million in revenue generated, obviously based on multi-year contracts and so on. And so, just curious to get your thoughts on how has this impacted the company? What has changed internally from a sales perspective of versus the old method of not seeing as many leads and perhaps having to do more networking and outbound versus now there's a flow. What's kind of changed internally for you?
Well, we've always understood the value of those SEO leads and how quickly you need to respond to them. So we made it a goal, even going back a couple of years, that if a lead came in, we had basically 5, 10 minutes to respond to it. And so I have them, when they come in via email, text, tweet. I'm getting a barrage of notifications like, hey, this is an active lead. So it wasn't that we were missing them, when they came in. We made sure that we responded quickly, but then you have to go through a qualifying process, and then follow your regular sales process. We had been so aggressively doing outbound dialing, and we had a pretty mature process to vet, set up an FTA, have a follow-up meeting. We had a reasonably good process for capturing that revenue if they were a good fit for us. It was really just a matter of how do you get their attention in this crowded marketplace, if you don't have good search engine optimization and good web presence. And so that's what's really changed for us in the past year and a half. It didn't happen overnight, but within about 6 months, we really started to see leads start to come in, and they were real leads, real
Yeah.
companies with real budgets, and it was shocking to us because we thought, oh, maybe in our market people just don't search the web for services, but no, it was just that we were not we weren't present. They weren't finding us.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, we again something we hear commonly, especially with where there hasn't been that success from past efforts. The sometimes the sentiment is, well, maybe people are not searching for this online, and it's just
Hmm.
unfortunately, I guess fortunately, that's not true. They are there, and it's just a matter of being visible, capturing them, and then finding ways to keep growing that visibility. And so, obviously, that's something we're really excited to hear, and great that the revenue has been starting to ramp up, and it's consistent in terms of lead flow. The other thing, of course, that's always important is the experience and the quality of the service and the deliverables and what we're doing in terms of SEO content, whether it's paid media, outbound. There's a lot of new additions that we're sort of bringing to the table as well. But what can you share about your experience with our team in terms of project management, responsiveness, and just the overall kind of interaction with your contacts at Jumpfactor?
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that I think Jumpfactor does really well is communicate around account management, and we had a really good account manager. Um, when it was time for her leave, take another opportunity. It was a really smooth transition, and another really high quality experience with Priya, our new account manager. You know, one thing I didn't do initially was we talked about the benefit of rebuilding the website from scratch. I was, again, because I had been burned so many times, I think I was probably a little reluctant to do it initially. We eventually, after I think maybe 7 8 months, we started to see, hey, we're going to be limited in the success that we can have without rebuilding the website, and so we did decide to do it. Maybe if I were to do it over again, I might have done it a little at the beginning. It might have been even a little more effective, or got us off the ground a little quicker. But yeah, that project went well. We've got our new website. It's up and running. I can actually make a few incremental changes myself now, which I was sort of unable to do with the architecture of the old site. Was really scattered and complicated, and so and now now you guys have carte blanche to kind of do all of the tweaks. I mean, the one thing I've been made really aware of is that um, the site is the SEO is a very dynamic, changing kind of environment.
Yeah, definitely. SEO search and even just the ad platforms in general are very ever changing, constantly with new algorithm updates and so on. So we have sort of a focus in R&D, just constantly tweaking and optimizing, and essentially with the objective of keeping you ahead of your competition. We see a lot of opportunity to actually help uh, capture some actual increased market share in the coming months and quarters with this generative AI, with some of the new strategies. In terms of your experience on and just kind of the expertise and knowledge of the team members, how have you found that to be with our team, and kind of just based on the interactions that you've had as we've been working together?
Yeah, everyone's been very knowledgeable. The reporting has been really eye-opening, just to see kind of how far back we were when we started, where we could see, we had been in Santa Fe for years and years and just assumed we were dominating search, although the results weren't reflecting that. And then we saw, through the reporting, like we were not, we weren't even top 10, and there's probably not even 10 companies doing what we do in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
So it was really eye opening to see, especially around a lot of the reporting, and um, that we had a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, wonderful. And I'm glad that we were able to help highlight that and, of course, capitalize on that. And any other major sort of benefits or call outs that you have in terms of what you've experienced with Jump Factor, and that you think might be relevant for any viewers?
I mean, what I would say is, I would, and maybe um, I assume that I speak for most MSP owners, that if the leads come in, that forgives a lot of sins. So while the account management, the project management, it has been good. If I weren't getting the leads that I that was the whole reason for making the switch, then I probably wouldn't probably wouldn't stick around, even if those other things were good. So the main thing that Jump Factor's been able to deliver is consistent leads, quality.
Very helpful. I think, maybe one of the last things that might be useful for some of the MSP owners and marketing executives looking here is, what would you recommend as a couple of things that they should sort of be looking for when selecting a partner if their goal is really aggressive growth? And any other insights you can share about that?
I mean, the best. I mean, these referrals. I mean, these testimonials that you're recording. They hopefully they speak for themselves. I mean, there's really only one metric that I know that was looking for, which is, lead generation. And so if you, I would, you're welcome to reach out to me. I would say reach out to anyone who's worked with Jump Factor and see if they've had a better experience anywhere else. I haven't.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate that, Jonathan. I think that's a great insights that you've shared from the kind of a leadership perspective of a growing MSP. And I want to thank you for your time and be very graceful with your time here. And we look forward to reconnecting soon and continuing the growth.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers.